1,000 years ago, superstition in the ruled. It was the age of fear. It was the age of gargoyles. 30 years ago, at this point, we were gifted with, created by Greg Weisman, produced by Disney, shown on the Disney Afternoon, years later on Toon Disney, the Gargoyles franchise, which is spread off into comic series released by Marvel Comics, Slave Labor Graphics, and currently by Dynamite Entertainment, into plushies, Funko Pops, and the now unfortunately canceled NECA action figure line. What is it about this franchise that has made it beloved by so many? How has it managed to stand the test of time? And why, 30 years later, are we talking about it? Well, I will tell you that my first encounter with Gargoyles, again, created by Greg Weisman, was through the Disney Afternoon. In the late 80s, Disney created this block of programming where you could watch shows such as The Adventures of the Gummy Bears, such as DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck. Gargoyles was able to join that lineup of programming. And because it was so well developed, the characters rang as genuine, wonderful animation, some stellar voice acting, a kick-ass score, it has been able to blossom into what you see before you, as well as having created its own convention known as The Gathering that ran for many, many years, bringing together Gargoyles fans not only from the continental US, but across the world. What is Gargoyles about? Well, it starts in ancient times, 1,000 years before 1994, which is when the property premiered. As I said, it is the age of fear, the time of kings in England and Scotland, and you find one particular kingdom under siege by Viking barbarians. These Vikings, at sunset, are met with a force that they cannot compete with. That force would be Clan Withering, run, commanded by its leader, Goliath, his beloved, referred to then as his angel of the night, his second in command, eventually given a name. In present day, things are not always what they need to be. Despite their valiant efforts and sacrifices to defend this kingdom, the Gargoyles are looked upon as different and discriminated against. A plan of treason is concocted, and unfortunately, due to the loss of several members of his clan, Goliath and some other survivors find themselves frozen in stone for 1,000 years. Enter then modern day Manhattan, 1994. A police officer known as Elisa Mazda is brought to the scene of a battle where she encounters Goliath and his clan. Through her, they get a sense of how the world has developed in their absence. They develop a close friendship with her, and through her are able to adapt to the modern world, to see friends as enemies, lovers for who they really are, and encounter new friends and enemies along the way, such as Goliath's former beloved, now known as Demona, who has more knowledge than she should of the modern day. How did she survive the slaughter that befell so many of her fellow clan members? How does she have an understanding of technology? You have to watch the series to find out. You also encounter other enemies, such as Thalog. It's Goliath, spelled backwards. What does he have to do with all of this? Watch to find out. Throughout it all, Goliath maintains his honor and integrity. He continues to grow closer to the humans, even though, were they to be exposed, they might find that they are just as despised in present day as they were 1,000 years prior. Thanks to Wiseman's incredible way of developing genuine characters with emotion, none of the characters, good or evil, come off as one note. You gain empathy and understanding of their desires, of their roles within this world. He brings with him several cast members from Star Trek The Next Generation in stellar roles. But chief among them, voice actors, would be Keith David, who lends his powerful and booming voice to Goliath. It cannot be understated how recognizable this man's voice is, and even reading the comics years later, when Goliath is on the printed page, I still hear David's voice in my head. This is a love letter to Shakespeare, to classic literature, as there are several references to Hamlet, to Macbeth, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and more. Wiseman develops each plot point carefully and with significant amounts of detail, whereas the first season lasted but a mere, I believe, 13 episodes. The second season was able to acquire 52 episodes. At that point, Wiseman exited the production as Disney wanted the show to be more child-friendly and more episodic instead of story-driven. Wiseman was able to complete work on the first episode of the third season, retitled Gargoyles, the Goliath Chronicles, before exiting. During this time, an 11-issue comic book series was produced by Marvel Comics, and that will be reprinted at some point by Dynamite Entertainment, as it was successfully funded through a Kickstarter campaign, I believe going on 2 years ago at this point. Going on, if not already at that point. The comics eventually moved the license over to Slave Labor Graphics, where Wiseman returned to the property and wrote in continuity / canon stories for our beloved Gargoyle cast of characters, as well as spin-offs for the series, including bad guys, focusing on possible redemptive arcs for some of the villainous characters you see throughout the original animated series. Once Slave Labor Graphics folded its licensure of the property, it remained in limbo. However, in recent years, Dynamite Entertainment has acquired the license. Wiseman has once again returned, and there are comics being published on, I won't say regular basis, but they're being published to the extent that we have received 12 issues of a Gargoyles series, 6 issues of a prequel series titled Gargoyles: The Dark Ages, a Halloween special, and currently have a Demona series, whether that's to be just a mini-series or get the possibility to continue, it's unknown. We get to see a little bit more of Demona's journey from 994 to 1994 in this series. We also have a continuation of the 12-issue series titled Gargoyles: The Quest, which is a 5-issue series. So far, there is only one collected edition available for the Dynamite Entertainment material. It is Gargoyles Volume 1 here in Manhattan, available in a trade paperback edition, in a standard size hardcover edition, or a signed hardcover edition, all from Dynamite Entertainment. Eventually, hopefully, we will see a Volume 2 to finish off the ongoing 12-issue series, or rather, formerly ongoing series. As of right now, some of that is on hiatus due to what I can talk about in another video. If you also want, please comment below. An ongoing battle with the former Diamond Comics distribution company. It's causing a lot of issues with a lot of publishers, usually smaller publishers or companies such as Dynamite. As I mentioned before, there was also a successfully funded Kickstarter campaign, so eventually books collecting the entire 11-issue Marvel Comics series will be released, as well as books collecting the slave labor graphic series, one book containing the 12 issues of Gargoyles and the other containing the spin-off series. Hopefully, we'll see further publications and further spin-offs from Dynamite Entertainment in the future. I personally, and many other fans, would like to see a Time Dancer series focusing on the time-traveling adventures of one of the cast members of the animated series. At the end of the day, if you're looking for something fun for all ages, despite there being some mature themes in the show, I highly recommend Gargoyles. Again, as you can see, they have plushies, Funko Pops, NECA figures, comic books. The show itself is streaming in full on Disney+, if you have a subscription or you've held on to your subscription. This is, to me, still a franchise, a property that deserves more love. I want anyone who's interested in great character work, stellar plotting, to be able to experience Gargoyles. And I wanted to celebrate, as we're at over 30 years old for the franchise, this in a special video. If you want more details, if you want to know about some of my favorite plot points, characters, what have you for Gargoyles, please let me know in the comments below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. You can find me on Instagram at Animaniac, or #1 Animaniac. You can find me in the Omnibuds Cafe Facebook group on Facebook. At the end of the day, stay healthy, stay safe, be one with the night, and thanks for watching. Be well.